With just 6 racing laps to go at the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix, the tension around the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya was as thick as the Catalan heat that had gripped the track all weekend. The safety car peeled into the pits, and the field prepared to unleash everything it had left in a final, frantic dash to the checkered flag. At the head of the pack were the two McLarens, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, locking out the front in what had already been a commanding weekend for the Papaya team. But the drama bubbling just behind them would steal headlines long after the podium celebrations ended. Max Verstappen lined up behind them, still very much in the fight thanks to Red Bull's daring 3-stop strategy, a gamble designed to keep the Dutchman on the attack in a race where overtaking opportunities had been scarce in track position, as always in Barcelona, was king. But this strategy came at a steep price. All of Verstappen's soft and medium compound tires, the faster and grippier options, had already been used. So when the safety car appeared and offered the leaders a free pit stop for fresh rubber, Verstappen was left with only one choice: the hard C1 compound. This was a tire no one wanted at this track. The hard had been ineffective all weekend, slow to warm up, hard to manage through the technical middle sector, and especially exposed in a restart scenario where grip out of the final corner would be crucial. Yet that's what Verstappen had bolted on as the field bunched up behind the safety car. Just behind him, Charles Leclerc on fresh softs in the Ferrari, and George Russell in the Mercedes, also on softs, could smell blood in the water. As the green flag waved, Verstappen got a decent jump initially, but the lack of grip was evident almost immediately. Coming out of the final corner, the Red Bull twitched violently in a moment of oversteer, forcing Verstappen to make a sharp correction. That snap was all Leclerc needed. The Ferrari powered down the main straight, drew alongside the Red Bull, and in a heart-pounding side-by-side drag race, the two cars made slight contact. Neither driver was prepared to yield. Leclerc held the inside line and muscled through into Turn 1. But the story didn't end there. Russell, watching it unfold from behind, spotted a gap, not between Leclerc and Verstappen, but between Leclerc and the inside curb. Russell launched his Mercedes into that gap, getting his front axle at least alongside Verstappen's rear-view mirror at the apex of Turn 1. Under F1's racing guidelines, this meant Russell had earned racing room. Verstappen, now squeezed in the middle of a 3-car battle at over 190 miles per hour, ran out of space and bailed out, cutting across the runoff area between Turns 1 and 3. The runoff, while legal, allows for a quicker re-entry if not handled correctly, and Verstappen emerged ahead of Russell despite the Mercedes having technically been ahead at the apex. That moment triggered confusion. Verstappen radioed his team, fuming that Leclerc had passed him by making contact. But Red Bull were far more concerned about the potential breach of the rules concerning Russell. Had Verstappen gained a lasting advantage by leaving the track? If so, he could face a time penalty. Red Bull asked race control for clarity, but no reply came. Meanwhile, fans watching on saw the words "incident noted" flash on the FIA's timing screens, a signal that the stewards were investigating. For Red Bull, the silence from race control was deafening. Christian Horner would later explain the team's dilemma. In the absence of a clear instruction from the FIA to give the place back, the team had to make a judgment call. Reviewing the incident in real-time, slow-motion replays on the pit wall, Red Bull decided it was 50-50 and not worth the risk. They instructed Verstappen to let Russell back through. That order hit Verstappen like a ton of bricks. Not only had he lost the opportunity to retake third from Leclerc, but now he was being told to give up fourth as well. The frustration boiled over, and what happened next only made matters worse. As they approached Turn 5, Verstappen slowed dramatically, appearing to comply with the team's request to let Russell through. But as Russell edged ahead, Verstappen suddenly re-accelerated, tagging the back of the Mercedes in what looked, to many, like a clumsy or intentional move. The FIA immediately launched an investigation, and after the race, they issued a 10-second time penalty. The steward's explanation was damning. They had, in fact, decided not to take action on the original track limits incident, which meant Verstappen had given up a place unnecessarily. But worse than that, the collision at Turn 5 was deemed avoidable and entirely the Red Bull driver's fault. From their point of view, the telemetry, onboards, and radio transmissions painted a clear picture. Verstappen was angry, acted out of frustration, and caused the contact with Russell. As a result, Verstappen was classified 10th, a far cry from the third place he had been fighting for just minutes earlier. The points he lost meant a bigger gap to the McLaren drivers, Oscar Piastri, who now leads the championship, and Lando Norris, who sits second. For a driver chasing a historic fifth consecutive title, this could prove costly. This incident also raised broader questions about how race control communicates with teams and how much leeway is given to drivers during ambiguous situations. Horner's comments after the race echoed what many in the paddock were thinking. Teams shouldn't be left to make crucial decisions in the dark, especially when a championship is on the line. If the race director had clearly stated no further action or give the position back, much of the chaos that followed could have been avoided. Instead, teams are left interpreting silence, and in Red Bull's case, it triggered a sequence that cost them dearly. It also touched on something deeper in Verstappen's character. He has always raced with passion, aggression, and a firm belief in his instinct behind the wheel. But this time, those instincts backfired. The frustration of being left out to dry on hard tires, the feeling of being overtaken unfairly, and the lack of clear guidance from the FIA created a pressure cooker situation. And when that pressure erupted, it wasn't just Russell who felt the consequences, it was Verstappen himself. There's another layer here, too. Red Bull's strategy gamble, once one of their strongest traits, now seems increasingly fragile under the weight of evolving competition. McLaren's sharpness, Ferrari's resurgence, and Mercedes' occasional flashes of pace mean there's no longer a guaranteed cushion for Verstappen to fall back on. Strategy missteps now cost big. And when frustration sets in, even the most dominant drivers are vulnerable to errors that shape championships. Looking ahead, this incident will serve as a case study for how tightly contested this season has become. Verstappen can still recover. He's proven before that he thrives under pressure. But the narrative has changed. Piastri's rise is no longer a subplot. Norris is no longer an underdog. And Red Bull, they're no longer untouchable. In the end, what happened in Barcelona wasn't just about tires, overtakes, or penalties. It was about trust. Trust between driver and team, between teams and race control, and between the rules and how they're enforced. It exposed the cracks in real-time communication and showed how razor-thin the margins are at the very top of Formula One. For fans, it was a reminder that this sport, for all its data, precision, and engineering wizardry, still comes down to human choices. Split-second decisions. Good calls, and the emotional highs and lows that come when everything is on the line. As we move deeper into the European leg of the season, the championship fight has truly erupted. The McLarens are setting the pace, Ferrari are lurking, and Verstappen finds himself, for the first time in years, fighting to regain lost ground. The Spanish Grand Prix didn't just change the standings. It changed the momentum. It reminded everyone that titles aren't just won on pure pace. They're won in moments like these. And those moments are what make Formula One what it is. Unpredictable, dramatic, and painfully human. Hello, McLaren faithful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss any McLaren and F1 updates with relaxing ASMR elements. Your support helps this incredible community grow stronger every day, and it's a small effort that goes a long way. Even if you can't contribute in other ways, it's completely free to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to keep the conversation going and share our passion for McLaren and F1. Your support helps keep the community thriving. Thank you for being part of McLaren Faithful.